Welcome back to Geometry Classroom. Today we'll talk about quadrilaterals. In this lesson, we'll learn how to define a quadrilateral and how to identify a quadrilateral. Now, what is a quadrilateral? A quadrilateral is a bidimensional closed shape with 4 sides and 4 angles. The name suggests this definition because quadro comes from number 4. What is the first type of quadrilateral? The first type of quadrilateral is parallelogram. In fact, a parallelogram is the name of a family of quadrilaterals. So, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with both pairs of opposite sides parallel, right? If we look at this diagram, AB and DC are opposite, are face to face. They are parallel. AD and BC are also opposite and they are parallel. But these pairs of opposite sides are congruent, yes? But this pair of parallel lines is different of the length of the pair of the other sides. So, in other words, it's not necessary to have all sides congruent to have a parallelogram. Good. Another type of quadrilateral is rhombus. The plural for rhombus is rhombi. A rhombus is a parallelogram, yes, where all 4 sides are congruent. Yes? So this is a kind of special parallelogram. Remember, a parallelogram doesn't have all sides congruent. Only the pair of parallel lines are congruent, right? But in this case, for a rhombus, all of its sides are congruent. Another type of quadrilateral is rectangle. A rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. All 4 interior angles are right angles. Another type of quadrilateral is square. Probably this is the most common, most known quadrilateral we know. A square is a parallelogram where all 4 angles are congruent and all 4 sides are congruent, like in this diagram. As we can see, all 4 sides are congruent, all 4 interior angles are equal and congruent and equal to 90 degrees. Also, a diamond, this shape is called diamond. A diamond is a square, but is a tilted square. Another type of quadrilateral is trapezoid. What is a trapezoid? Is a quadrilateral with exactly 1 pair of parallel sides, right? Like here, right? The other pair of sides are non-parallel. The parallel lines are called bases, but one of them is longer, the other one is shorter, right? We say here big base and smaller base. Good. We may have a few names for trapezoid depending on some properties. Now, if the non-parallel lines of the trapezoid are equal, the trapezoid will be isosceles one. If one of its interior angles is a right angle, then the trapezoid would be a right trapezoid. if the non-parallel lines are different in length, we simply say trapezoid. The last type of quadrilateral is kite. What is a kite? A kite is a quadrilateral that has two pairs of consecutive congruent sides. But opposite sides are not congruent. Look, these two sides are consecutive and they are congruent. The other pair of sides are also congruent and they are consecutive and congruent. But the pair of opposite sides are not congruent. For example, these two sides are across each other. They are opposite, but they are not congruent. Also, the other pair of opposite sides also is different. Good. This being said, let's have a worksheet with types of quadrilaterals. In that worksheet, we have to identify the name for each given shape. For example, in this case, state the most specific name for each figure. For this one, as we can see, the pair of parallel lines, right? So the opposite sides are parallel, but they are different in length. So the name of this quadrilateral will be parallelogram. Let's use another color. For number 2, this shape has one pair of parallel lines only, and the other pair of opposite sides is non-parallel. So, remember, the name is trapezoid. For this one, we have pairs of opposite sides congruent, right? And all interior angles equal to 90. So the name would be rectangle. On number 4, we have one pair of consecutive sides congruent, the other pair of consecutive sides congruent, but different of the first pair, right? So the name would be kite. Good. Now let's have other shapes. In this case, the only name is quadrilateral, right? So there is no let's say specific properties here. So we simply say quadrilaterals. Quadrilateral. For number 6, as we can see, we deal with parallelogram with all sides congruent, and this quadrilateral will be a rhombus. Next, as we can see, the pair of opposite sides are congruent, but the consecutive sides are different, and all interior angles are right angles. So the name is rectangle. Eight. As we can see here, the opposite sides are congruent. In fact, all sides are congruent, the angles are different, right? Are different of 90. So the name of a parallelogram, because this is a parallelogram with all sides congruent, is rhombus. Good. Let's have a few more. Next. In this case, the pair of opposite sides are congruent, but the consecutive sides are different. Yes? So in this case, we're gonna have simply parallelogram. Good. For number 10, as we can see, the pair of consecutive sides are congruent, yes, but the pair of opposite sides are different, right? So that's a kite. For 11, as we can see, all sides are different. In this case, we simply have a quadrilateral. For 12, we have a pair of opposite sides parallel and the other pair of sides non-parallel. But the sides of non-parallel, the pair of non-parallel sides is congruent. In this case, we're gonna have an isosceles trapezoid. Good. Now, in these 4 examples, we have to come up with all possible names for each figure. As we can see, each figure, right, is a figure with 4 sides. So all of these shapes are quadrilateral. So we start with quadrilaterals. Then what's next? Because all sides are congruent, right? And all angles are right angles, the next name, right, would be a square. In the same time, a square is a rectangle, right? Because remember, the definition of a rectangle is a quadrilateral with all 4 angles right angles, which is the same as we have for a square. And another type, another name would be parallelogram, right? Because a square is a parallelogram. Why? Because the pair of opposite sides are parallel. Good. What about 14? On 14, again, is a quadrilateral. Is a parallelogram. And we don't have any other name except for those 2. This one is a quadrilateral. Is a parallelogram. Because the pair of opposite sides are parallel. and because all sides are equal, is a rhombus. For 16, as we can see, a pair of opposite sides is parallel and the other pair is non-parallel. So, would be a trapezoid, the generic name, right? But because it's a shape with 4 sides, is also a quadrilateral. Good. So that's all we have for today. We'll have another lesson with first type of quadrilateral, which is a parallel. By then, thank you for watching my video.